Part 4. Listen to this. Quote, according to the scholar H. Mitchell, personal quote, if we assume that the Dorian invasion took place sometime in the 12th century, listen up, we certainly know nothing of them for the next 100 years. Blidgeon admitted that in the sub-Mycenaean period following 1200, personal quote, the whole area seems to have been sparsely populated or mostly deserted, end quote. The problem is that there are no traces of any Dorians anywhere until the start of the geometric period about 950 BC. Let me read that again. The problem is that there are no traces of any Dorians anywhere until the start of the geometric period about 950 BC. It's because they clones, dummy. Quote, this simple pottery declaration appears to be correlated with other changes in material culture, such as the introduction of iron weapons and alterations in burial practices from Mycenaean group burials in Tulus tombs to individual burials and cremation. These can certainly be associated with the historical Dorian settlers, such as those of Sparta in the 10th century BC. Listen up. However, they appear to have been general over all of Greece. Moreover, the new weapons would not have been used until 1200. So, let me keep going. The scholars were now faced with the conundrum of an invasion at 1200, but a resettlement at 950. It's not a conundrum, people. It's because they clones. How you gonna have that? I can't believe they're so stubborn. They're so stubborn. My God word just can't be true. They just got to come up with something else. Let's keep going. Listen to how far they have taken their reputations with their atheist colleagues. Listen to this, listen to this. One explanation is that the destruction of 1200 was not caused by them, and that the quasi-mythical return of the Herculeans is to be associated with the settlement at Sparta in 950. It is possible that the destruction of the Mycenaean centers was caused by the wandering of northern people, Dorian migration. They destroyed the palaces of Ai, the palaces of Thebes. Then they crossed the Isthmus of Corinth. They destroyed Mycene, T, and Pylos, and finally they returned northward. However, Pylos was destroyed by a sea attack. The invaders didn't leave behind traces of weapons or graves. Listen to this, man. Let me say it again. However, Pylos was destroyed by a sea attack. The invaders didn't leave behind traces of weapons or graves. What the hell is that possible? And it cannot be proved that all of the sites were destroyed about the same time. Stop. Oh man. Oh man. I really didn't take a look at and listen and read and comprehend all this indecisiveness. These white people don't know where they come from. Can you imagine? They got no sleep. another academic scholar bites the dust. Yet another academic scholar bites the dust by giving the notion that mythology is correct. And as far as the far-fetched theory of a successful attack from an outside source, yet they leave no traces of weapon nor graves behind, is just that. Far-fetched. No. Clone Greeks with Mandela effect overlapping tech support sounds more prudent. Again, only palaces were destroyed. Totally opposite of conventional wisdom, and as little Miss Ivy and I can tell you, it goes against all sacking and raising etiquette for anyone with the intent to stay in the region. But what do I know? That's it. But what do I know? Let's continue for more clues, shall we? Listen to them admit how confounded they are. Under closing the gap. Oh my gosh. Quote, the quest for the Dorian invasion had begun as an attempt to explain the differences between Peloponnesian societies depicted by Homer and the historical Dorians of classical Greece. The first scholars to work on the problems were historians researching the only resources available to them, the Greek legends. The philologists, later linguists, subsequently took up the challenge, listen to this, but in the end, only brought the problem into sharper definition. Oh my gosh. Oh my stars. And now I'm understanding. They're going through it. People, they're going through it, man. They don't know where they came from. I'm looking here, I'm listening, and I'm realizing, okay, wait a minute. These people not getting no sleep. They don't know where they came from. I'm sorry, man. I know this is so out of character. My bad. Let me finish this out. Finally, the archaeologists have inherited the issue. Let me go back and read that. I'm going to try to get through it. Okay, the philologists, I guess that is, later linguists, subsequently took up the challenge, but in the end, only brought the problem into sharper definition. Finally, the archaeologists have inherited the issue. Perhaps some distinctly Dorian archaeological evidence will turn up. Or has turned up, giving precise insight as to how and when Peloponnesian society changed so radically. Listen up. History overlap ahead. Listen up. Quote, the historians had defined the Greek Dark Ages, a period of general decline, in this case the disappearance of the palace economy, and with it law and order, loss of writing, diminishment of trade, decrease in population, and abandonment of settlements, destroyed or undestroyed, metal starvation, and loss of the fine arts, or at least the diminution of their quality, evidence especially in pottery. By its broadest definition, the Dark Age lasted between 1200 BC and 750 BC, the start of the Archaic or Orientalizing period. Yeah, wait a minute. I just seen that. The Orientalizing period. We know about that. when influence from the Middle East via the overseas colonies stimulated a recovery. Whoa, wait a minute. Listen to this again. By its broadest definition, the Dark Age lasted between 1200 and 750, the start of the Archaic or Orientalizing period, when influence from the Middle East via the overseas colonies stimulated a recovery. Stop. Bingo. What? And I read it again because I seen it then, which can only mean somehow in some way the scriptures are true after all. No, I just seen, we're going to read this, but I just seen something else. I mean, didn't we just read it said, or didn't we just read it, didn't we read it said Greece and the whole world and adjacent coasts? If so, that can only mean the Rhodanians replicated the multicultural Aegean Greeks, juiced them, mass-produced them, and boosted them to the other replicated colonies across the whole world as well, just like our recent Radonite discovery attested. Check out one last scholar as he waves the white flag in defeat, and just how serious of a blow to the scientific community this defeat is. I'm going to cut to the chase. But before I do that, I just seen something else in what we just read. I sure enough did. And we're going to have to go back to that. And I'm pretty sure Leslie and Leslie and Irish have they've probably heard it too. Okay, let's continue. Quote, Cartridge says humorously, personal quote, it has of late become an acknowledged scandal that the Dorians, archaeologically speaking, do not exist. Let me read this again. This is the scientific community, people. You and I both know they're clones. Well, I know they're clones. I know the history. I know a little bit more than we've gotten to yet. You're gonna know what I know, but we haven't gotten to it yet. But yeah, these cats are clones. As you heard, they don't know where these cats come from, and this, that, and the other. And to come on the scene and be these super sort of badasses the way they are is going to be amazing. But these are scientists, and they're admitting, this guy is basically, it's a scandal that they don't know where they come from, because they do know that they are all from the Greece, or from the Greek. They understand that part. But let's finish this out. Check this out. I want you to hear something at the very end. His acknowledgement at the very end is what encompasses everything in these 4 videos. His very last statement. And I think you'll forgive me for all of this rambling. Let's read this again. This is what he says, but he says it in jest. Listen to this. Personal quote. It has of late become an acknowledged scandal that the Dorians, archaeologically speaking, do not exist. That is, there is no cultural trait surviving in the material record for the 2 centuries or so after 1200 BC, which can be regarded as a particular Dorian hallmark. Listen closely to what is about to come out my mouth, people. Quote, robbed of their patent of geometric pottery, cremation burial, ironworking, and the unkindest prick of all, the humble straight pen, the hapless Dorians stand naked before their creator, or, listen to this, some would say their inventor. Let me say it again. robbed of their patents of geometric pottery, cremation burial, ironworking, and the unkindest prick of all, the humble straight pen. The hapless Dorians stand naked before their creator, or some would say inventor. Personal end quote. The question remains open to further investigations. Example, bingo. They know, ladies and gentlemen, it is what it is at this point. I mean, it is what it is at this point. They know. When you got scientists saying, okay, you know what? Maybe. I mean, come on now. Even to them, the evidence don't lie. Now, let's dig a little deeper into this whole super soldier business I keep talking about, shall we?